Welcome to the Fit Dads Podcast. Today we are delighted to welcome our first mum. Correction, our first super mum. Someone who decided that having kids would be the making of her, not the breaking of her. Since having her daughter Rosie, she's fitter, stronger and in better shape than she was pre-pregnancy. She's completely transformed the way her body looks and performs, recently running the Sheffield Half Marathon and hitting triple figures on her deadlift. We're hoping to pick her brains on how she managed to successfully work on her physique and performance alongside being a mum, juggling a busy work life and doing lots of solo parenting whilst her partner works away. Welcome to the Fit Dads Podcast.
Thank you.
Kate Collinson.
Oh, I feel quite emotional.
There we go.
It's really, how wonderful to hear that. Yeah, but that has been the journey, I guess. Yeah.
It's your highlight reel, basically.
Yeah.
It's all, I think, I'll say it's about, I think it's all started pretty much since you were pregnant, essentially. I think obviously you were into exercise, you were into training, you came here for some sessions, I think you did some boot camp stuff, didn't you, before lockdown, and then pretty much since lockdown and your pregnancy, you decided, right, you know what, this is it, I'm going to knuckle down now, I'm going to really go for it. And one thing Brad said to me, he really wants to pick your brains on why that was like the turning point, really. Why that was the moment you decided, you know what, this is the time we're going to go for it. Because usually it's the opposite, isn't it? Usually you find out you're pregnant, you spend 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years battling kids, dealing with, right, my body and me come second to everything. You kind of flip the script there. So that's probably one of our biggest talking points, why you think that is the kind of path you chose.
So, it's really, I was thinking this morning about trying to think back about my fitness journey. I think I've always been interested in fitness. I've always done some level of exercise. I did a half marathon when I lived in Bristol in 2016. I used to go to the gym a lot, but I'd always do things like spinning classes. Never really did sort of, serious weights anyway. When I moved to Sheffield, I joined like Pons Forge and used to train with a guy at Institute of Sport. But it was always very gym focused. And I think I always felt like, to be fit, you had to go to a gym, and that's the only way you could keep fit. But also, this was all before I had Rosie, my daughter, and, there was time to procrastinate. So, there was always like, oh, I could go to the gym today, or maybe I won't, and there was always that kind of... And also, like, my job's very social as well. It's always been very social. There was always, like, the after-work drinks or, thinking, oh, yeah, I'll do that thing. I'll go for that, do that thing tomorrow. I'll do that exercise tomorrow. And then, tomorrow comes and you don't quite do it. So I think, I found out... So I sort of was doing all of that and, was always very interested in fitness. But I guess didn't take it as seriously as I did until I got pregnant. And when I found out I was pregnant, it was at that kind of strange time of COVID where we were coming out of lockdown. So it was the end of 2020 I found out I was pregnant. And I just thought, and I was still going to the gym and stuff, but I'd obviously stopped going to the gym because of COVID. I was trying to get back into running. And I was really getting, I felt kind of fit and I thought, I don't want to lose this fitness just because I'm getting pregnant. I don't want to I want to, it's really important to me that I have a fit pregnancy, that I have a healthy pregnancy. Because of course, I didn't drink during my pregnancy and all of that. So I thought this is a real opportunity for me to,
Be super healthy.
Be super healthy. To use this 9 months to go, right, well, you can't drink. Not that I drank a lot, by the way. I'm just trying to think of my old life versus my new life. I still drink.
The good old days.
There's still some good old days in there. But, I think it really focused me. And so it was around that time that I'd reached out to you to do outside boot camps at Norfolk Park because me and the girls, me and some friends who live nearby were desperate for exercise. Like, Ryan, come and do some exercise outside with us. So we were doing these boot camps, which we absolutely loved. But between those, I wasn't doing much. And then so I said to Ryan, look, will you train me through my pregnancy? We'll have to do it outside because it was also around the time when we'd not had the vaccines. Pregnant women were sort of told, don't go anywhere because of COVID. So I wasn't really meant to go into a gym. I wasn't meant to go inside anywhere. So we did a lot of training sessions in the park, didn't we? And I mean, I must say, it didn't start straight away with pregnancy because I had the first 3 months, I had the classic horrific sickness feeling through pregnancy. But it was around that 3 months onwards, we started getting into it and we were doing weights and, loads of stuff outside. And I just loved it. And it just made me feel like, even though my body was doing this amazing thing, it was growing a child, which, I'm so grateful that my body could do that. And I'm very lucky that it could do that. But I still didn't want that to take, I wanted to keep my fitness up. It was really important to me that I had a fit, healthy pregnancy because, in my mind, that equaled a fit, healthy birth. The birth was a bit tricky, but she is a fit and healthy child. And it also was part of my identity. I didn't want to lose that. I didn't just want to be oh, I'm pregnant, so I'm going to sit there and eat loads of cake. I mean, I did do that as well, but I kept active. I kept walking the dog, doing what I could really, but also having to adapt and go, Kate, you can't go out for, 6 miles runs, you got heavily pregnant. I mean, we slowed down a bit, didn't we, at the end of my pregnancy when I got really big. Yeah. I mean, the bum got really big because she was £9.10 when she came out, so
huge. Wow.
She was a big baby, yeah.
The fascinating thing about hearing you talk about that whole process, it really zaps me back to that whole timeline of our interaction as well. And I think our first ever interaction was you came down here for a consultation, didn't you, for some sessions.
Yeah.
I think not long after that, you then got back in contact about the boot camp and said, I know I came back from one-to-one sessions, would you be up for doing a boot camp? And I love the fact that you girls reached out and were like, actually, we want to be active during kind of this COVID time. And it was one of the one things we could do. We could train outside, we could see coaches. There was no limit, I don't think, at that point on how many people you could see outside. That kind of came in later. So fortunately, there was 5 of you and 1 of me, though. So when it was a 6-person outside, it kind of fit quite nicely, didn't it? That went on for a while, and then I can't remember if we started doing some one-to-one sessions. I think we did. I think once, because the rules had changed, where then it was like, right, you can only meet like 1 person or 3 people outside.
Isn't it crazy? I can't even remember. It's like another world, isn't it?
I can't remember the logistics, but I think it went from 6 outside can meet, then it went down to like 2 or 3 can meet at a time. And then that's when I thought you kind of messaged me and said, can we do some one-to-one sessions instead of the boot camp? I still want to keep this going. And then during those outdoor one-to-one sessions, you came to a session one time and said, I'm pregnant, basically. Obviously, we were over the moon.
Yikes.
And, there's then that conversation of like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your plan? You want to stay active? Because there's literally, I've coached so many girls who've got pregnant while they're here, come to me during the pregnancy. And there's one of 2 approaches they take. It's either the approach of, right, I'll see you in like a year's time when I've like let everything wash over. I'm going to do me for a little bit. I'll see you in a bit. And there's obviously the approach you took where it's like, actually, I want to keep training. And your immediate question was, how long into my pregnancy can I train? And you were very inquisitive, asking questions. What's the right advice for it? And I guess it's all personal. Everyone experiences pregnancy in a different way.
Of course.
It gets more difficult at different stages throughout the pregnancy. But the fascinating thing about Kate is you took it right up until the point where you literally couldn't move.
Couldn't waddle. I couldn't even waddle down the road. It was about, I think I was 37 weeks when I stopped training.
And was it 40, 42,
I was
41?
actually 2 weeks overdue, so I was 42 weeks.
Right, yeah, it was a few weeks, maybe a month before the due date when you were like, I think I need to call it in. I've still got videos on my phone of you in the gym doing like stuff, very simple stuff with the stepper, just step on the box, off the box. Obviously, limited range of movement and limiting what you could do, but it was phenomenal. Your mindset is the one thing that really stuck out to me as being the admirable thing in that situation.
I also bought, because I knew I wasn't going to the gym, I thought, right, I bought an exercise bike. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I bought an exercise bike and put that in one of the rooms in the house. It's gathering dust a bit now, but that was a real godsend to me actually during my pregnancy as well, because I was doing the stuff with you, and then I thought, what's the cardio stuff I can do that's kind of not going to be too impactful as well? And so, I didn't buy a Peloton bike, by the way, but I did use the Peloton app, which was actually really good because you could do the cheesy American Peloton classes, but but do it on a normal exercise bike, because I'd done a lot of spinning before. I enjoyed going to spinning classes in the gym, and I thought so that was helpful as well during pregnancy, definitely.
Absolutely. But again, just another way of you looking to do something that was fit, active, and going to keep you moderately healthy throughout your pregnancy. You were looking for different ways. You weren't just settling, essentially. You decided, as I said in the intro, kids was going to be the making of you as opposed to the breaking of you. And I love that little comment you made before when you said, I was doing something relatively healthy anyway. I'm creating life. Like you know, as a woman, you're doing something that is one of the most important things that child will ever experience. That how well that pregnancy goes dictates how healthy that child is, possibly for the rest of their life, essentially. And so those moments when you think, oh, it's just a little bump inside of me, you were very aware of what you do and what you put inside you really affects her. And And I love that. That was obviously you had your child a year before we did.
Yeah.
And when I was speaking to Amy, it was a big thing. Some of our conversations were like, how active are you? What are you having? And I think even Amy will probably admit she took a little bit of inspiration from how active you were. And
that's lovely.
I've told a lot of people about the story. You've got pregnant about how late into your pregnancy you were training, and a lot of them go, "Wow, I'm not sure I can do that," but it's a benchmark essentially for a lot of women.
I felt really strong later on in my pregnancy as well. Like I felt really, felt very strong. It was the beginning bit of pregnancy that I felt I just couldn't have done much. That was when just the kind of sickness feeling. But as you said, everyone experiences things so differently. And I've got some friends, bless them, who've been through term pregnancies where they're sick the whole way through it, and they couldn't possibly do training the way. So I felt very lucky that I'd had that. But of course I went into the birth thinking, oh, giving birth's going to be easy because I'm really fit. No. That was not the case. But, that just shows you the unpredictableness of this thing that is like having a child, basically. So, yeah.
Aside from obviously, during pregnancy, staying active, being fit, one question I want to ask you is, why do you think fitness is important just generally as a mum?
My mental health.
Yeah.
Hands down, I would say that is the most important part of exercise for me. The losing the weight thing, of course, is makes you feel brilliant. You feel fitter. Like my daughter Rosie is a big, nearly 3-year-old. I do often say to my husband, I say, God, what happens if you're not fit or strong, or how do you lift your child up? And so for me, being fit is really important for that reason as well. But first and foremost, it's my mental health. It's something that's for me. It's my time. I always say this to Ryan when I go and see him because we have our sessions on a Saturday morning. And it just sets me up for the weekend, especially if I've been looking after Rosie all week on my own because my husband Ben works away a lot. For me, it's like a reset. Like go to see Ryan, 10 Saturday morning, whatever horrifically heavy weights he's making me lift. I love it. I feel just, and I come out of there feeling like I've been at therapy. And, we chat about all sorts of life things as well. And, it's very special to me that. But, the fact that I can go out and have a run, just have time for me. Like, I'm a better mum because of that. I'm definitely 100% a better mum. If I miss out on my exercise or, if I've had Rosie 2 days in a row and I've not had time away from her, I'd snap, I can see it building up in me. I just wasn't built to be that person who can be around my kid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and love it. I need time for myself. So I think for me, having exercise, having that set time, and I'll talk a bit about it. I'm very organised with it, and that's how you have to be, I think. It's for my mental health. It's to keep me sane and to just make me feel. It just makes me feel happy, and it's just for me. Yeah.
Well, great really points. Two of the most important points, I think. Number one is parents forget how physical being a parent is. The physicality of having a child, like you said, like picking them up, holding them for long extended periods of time, chasing them around the house, around the park. It's very demanding physically. Like having a kid at that age, especially when they can start walking and running, that's when things really start to take a bit of a turn, and you quickly realise, oh shit, I'm not in the shape I should be, or my fitness isn't where it needs to be, and that's never ever been an issue for you because of the way you've approached it. And you could argue you've always been pretty fit, you've been in shape, you've been active, but I think since the pregnancy you decided that actually, no, how far can I take this now? Like how far? I don't just want to be in shape and be fit. I want to do this for me a little bit as well. Yeah. I think that's where the mental health side of things comes in, and going, how can I challenge myself in different ways? And again, one of the things I mentioned in your intro was the half marathon, which we'll obviously get onto at some point, and you prep for that, and it's just another way of you being like, how can I challenge my body and my mentality a little bit further?
I like the structure that exercise gives me as well. I like routine, and I like structure, and I like having plans. Of course, we all know that plans have to change pretty regularly and last minute when you've got a child involved. Yep. But, I think that's something that Ryan really taught me, and is that, writing a plan out, but having a plan that's flexible, So every week I do, and I have this amazing thing called a circle planner, which essentially is just an A4 diary. And every week it says Monday, Tuesday, and I block out when I'm working, and I look at the week ahead, and I go, right, I can go for a run then, I can run with the dog then, I can do a home workout then. if anything happens on that day, I could always do it then instead. So, you know, it's like, because, you know, inevitably, you know, Rosie might have to be off nursery, and as I'm the solo parent a lot of the time, I'll have to look after her. So, you know, I just think the thing, because I didn't do that when I first was with Ryan, I didn't plan out things like that, and I didn't really use my Fitness Pal. I didn't use anything like that. And with my Fitness Pal, so I was always a bit resistant to it. I was like, oh, you know... And I'm still not perfect with my Fitness Pal, believe me. But I used to be like, I know what I'm doing, you know. But actually, that has been a game changer for me. And I think just planning out my week ahead each week. And I even now have this mentality where I'm thinking 2 weeks ahead. And I'm going, oh, right, so that work thing's happening on that day. So I can't do that. So what I'll do is I'll do run. I'm thinking 2 weeks ahead of my exercise. That is how important it is to me. You know, it's so important that I don't drop the ball on it or miss out on it, you know. And I'm very... It's tough because I solo parent a lot. My husband's away a lot during the week. So I have my time. I don't have time to procrastinate. I have to do it. If I have time, I'm doing it. There's no two ways about it. Even if I've had 2 hours sleep, I've had a bad night, Rosie, I'm going out there and I'm running because I know, even though I'm tired, ultimately it will make me feel better.
What a great mindset. I absolutely love that. Just seizing the opportunity, taking it by the horns, and again, not giving yourself the option of, this is a bit optional. It's like, no, there's a time period here where I can go and do that. Seize that opportunity, get yourself stuck in, and chances are 5-10 minutes and you're like, I'm glad I'm doing this now. You know, I'm here.
Yeah.
Obviously depends on what you're doing, I'm sure, and how hard it is, but...
Because you won't always feel motivated, will you? And that's what we were talking... I think he talks about that in the Chimp Paradox, or so. There's something anyway where you're not always going to feel... You're not always be like, yeah, can't wait to go for a 6-mile run today. Yeah. Really looking forward to this, you know. So it's like... But I'm like, it's in there. I'm not ill. I've got childcare. I can do it. I'm going. Even if it's torrential rain, I'm like, it's fine.
What an amazing mindset. And you said there, Kate, about like not procrastinating. Like you've not got the time to procrastinate. It's like that window is so small. And just to give, I suppose, the listeners a bit of context, you've mentioned that you're solo parent when your husband's away, but like at the same time, you're a working solo parent. And I've known you for what, 45 minutes? And I can see already like how amazing a job you do. But for a bit of context, can you talk to us a little bit about like what you do for work and how you manage to balance that, really?
Yeah, so I work for a film and TV production company. They're based in Leeds. Our office is in Leeds. They're called Duck Soup Films. We've actually got our first show coming out on BBC on Monday called Lost Boys and Fairies. Little plug.
Absolutely. Plug away.
Very proud of that, which is a TV 3-parter on BBC One.
And you were the person who found that show, weren't you?
I sort of helped, nurture that show from the beginning. I helped find the writer and this wonderful Welsh writer called Daft James, and it's actually a story about it is a story about being a parent. You know, it's about it's about adoption, but it's also about being a parent. A lot of it, so it's quite universal in its themes. So anyway, that side note, very proud of that.
We'll put some links in the show notes, I'm sure. 100%.
But my role is head of development. So essentially, my job is working with writers to help them write scripts, help them find ideas for TV and film projects. So this is a kind of, you know, I'm 41 now, so I've worked in this sort of line of work for a good few years now. But the company I work for are wonderful and incredibly supportive, made up mostly of women, and a lot of those are mothers as well. So I'm very, very lucky, and I don't take this with a pinch of salt at all, because I think there will be a lot of women, mothers out there who maybe aren't as lucky with their employers, you know, like in terms of I'm very supported. They've been incredibly flexible. They, you know, in terms of me knowing that I solo parent a lot, because my husband Ben is a sound recorder, so he also works in film and TV. He goes away and shoots a lot. So they're very supportive in terms of if I've got to do solo childcare, you know, I can work from home a lot. I'm very, very fortunate I can do that with my job. Obviously, COVID changed a lot, and that was before I was pregnant. I was already working from home a lot. Now I'm starting to go into the office a bit more in Leeds. Sometimes I have to go to London for work. So there is, you know, even though I do get to work from home a lot, there is still a very big juggling act going on here. And Rosie's in nursery 4 days a week, a fantastic nursery that Ryan's daughter's at as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
They are amazing there. So she's in long days at the nursery, and, you know, but I have to be the one who drops her off, picks her up, you know, all of that. So I drop her off at 8, and usually what I do is I go for a run from the nursery. So, you know, drop her off at 8, back home by 9, working by 9:30, and then picking her up at 6. And then bedtime, bath time, which we all know is an absolute battle, especially if you're doing it on your own. So it is quite intense, but I love my job. I'm very lucky that I've got a career that I really enjoy. I'm very lucky that I work for a company that is very supportive of you having a family and understands the strains that come along with that. But equally, I've got a job to do, so I have to be organised. I've got to be very organised in my job, which means I'm very organised in every aspect of my life. The tricky thing is when Ben's away, there's no moving parts really. So it's like if one thing doesn't, if Rosie's ill, then everything goes out the window. You're like, I can't work today. I can't do any exercise today. Because I'm not, I don't, as a lot of people are in a similar position, I don't have much family support in Sheffield. So, our families all sort of live slightly further away. So there isn't really anyone else who can pick her up. I'm very lucky that I've got a very brilliant, strong, supportive group of friends who live nearby who would do anything for us. So that is my village. They talk about having a village, and I never understood that until I had a child. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it takes a village. So there is a lot of, long-winded way of answering your question about what my job is. But it's also just to big up the company I work for, and that I couldn't do the job I do, have the career I have, and have a child and solo parent if I didn't have that supportive support around me. The
network.
The network. Yeah, absolutely. People who understand as well. Yeah. So yeah,
I really hope a lot of companies pay attention to that, because a lot of companies will probably feel like they can't bend and flex because productivity will suffer. But actually, if people feel supported, they're probably going to work harder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I work 4 days a week, and everyone in our company actually works 4 days a week. We all went down to 4 days a week during COVID, and we've just realised, even though those 4 days feel very intense, still you have that Friday off, and that's quite nice after 3 days of no childcare. But I love spending all Friday with my daughter. It's wonderful. It is intense, but yes. And I honestly, I'd really, because I know I'm making this sound very easy, but I am just lucky that I have an employer like that. And I don't think that is the case for a lot of people, and especially women. And I think that's really difficult, and something that hopefully is getting addressed more and more. But yeah
100%. Have you got any advice for maybe other solo parents whilst the partner's working away? Like, is there any specific conversations that you and Ben have that are really helpful?
It's really difficult. I'm so glad Ben's not on social media, so hopefully you won't see this. I should caveat this by saying I love my husband and child very much, and everything I say is meant with absolute love. It's really hard. He's always worked away, so I'm very used to it. And once me and Rosie get into a routine, once we get going, things have got easier. When Rosie was a baby and I had a year off work, I hated maternity leave. I really hate that lack of structure. Yeah. I can't even remember what it's like when you have a newborn. Everyone's like, it was such a wonderful time. I'm like, and Rosie didn't sleep well, so she was just one of those people. But Ben worked away from very early on. So, from Rosie being very, very tiny. Obviously, he has big chunks. He might not have any work for 3 months, which is also great. But then he might be, away for 3 months. He's usually only away during the week, so weekends he's around. It's just being so organised, and that's why some people be like, well, I don't have time to exercise. There's no time to do anything, is there? Do you know what I mean? So it's like looking at your day and thinking, for me, the best time to exercise is the morning, because I drop Rosie off at 8 a.m, then I exercise. It might not always be that way, especially when she starts school. It might be that I have to exercise in my lunch hour, or, it's finding that time during the day. And also, I'm not a member of a gym. I struggled with that a lot at first, because I thought, I've got to be a member of a gym to keep fit. I need all the equipment. What I've actually done I do one session with Ryan. I'm really into running now, which is free. You can just get out and do it at any time of the day. So that's brilliant. I've got my exercise bike at home, and I've got dumbbells at home. And so Ryan sets me home workouts. So that's my gym. And as Ryan said, I'm probably in the fittest I've ever been, and I'm not a member of a gym. So I think that's also to say, don't stress about having to join gyms and be members of groups. I did go to Tribe a lot. Have you heard of Tribe? Yeah. I did really enjoy that. So at some point when Rosie was a bit younger, it was easier for me to get to Tribe. So I enjoyed doing that. And that was a big part of my fitness journey, I must say, because they're very intense classes. But I enjoyed that. But now I can't, it's expensive. Sorry, Tribe. It is so expensive. You need to lower your rates if you want people. Loved it, but so expensive. And I thought, I can't afford to do that. And personal training. So I was like, what's more important to me? And I was like, personal training. My time with Ryan is much more important to me, because then I can structure my life around the other pockets of time I have to do exercise. And I'm not exercising every day. I don't do it every day. I'm probably 4 days a week, which may sound like a lot, but it's not like I'm doing 7 days a week. And that's what works for me. But I do walk every day.
It's really nice to hear, because I'm more expensive than Tribe, unfortunately.
That's why I couldn't do both.
But it's nice to know that Kate chose the personal training option with myself, R5, over Tribe, and something that was a big fixture in your week. Like I said, you enjoyed it, you really liked those classes. But I think we had to break down your week as well and look at, like, what are you missing? So you're doing a lot of running. You're doing a lot of the high-intense cardio with maybe sessions at home. You've got your spin bike, that's very intense. What your week was lacking, which we've worked on massively this past year or so, I would say, is the strength factor, like getting really strong through your deadlifts, through your squats, through your overhead pressing, bench press. The fundamental compound lifts is something we've really pushed, and that's helped everything. It's made you stronger in your legs, so you can go and get through a half marathon without feeling like it's your legs that are giving you the kind of aches and pains at the end. Not said they weren't sore, but it got you to the end of that race, right?
Absolutely.
It means that you can go and pick Rosie up and play for extended period of time. Like those. Every week has to have a varied amount of weight, a varied amount of rep ranges, and I think at the moment you've really got it nailed in terms of hitting all those boundaries, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's it. It's just it's finding, and it's small steps. Like when I first had Rosie. I didn't start training again with you until I was 6 months postpartum, because I'd had a C-section as well. Yeah. And I was big, I put on a lot of weight. I put on more weight after having Rosie, because I was breastfeeding her. You are just in shock. I was anyway. Comfort food, glass of wine every night, because you're just like, oh, what is night and day? I've lost the meaning of, what all that means. And it's so psychologically tough. I don't think I had depression, but I think I was on the edge of it. I think it's probably very normal for most mums to have some form of depression, and possibly dads as well, because it is just, as you guys will know as well, it's just, you can't describe it, can you? It's just like, what has happened? And
it's such a shock.
It's such a shock physically for me, mentally, and mentally for me, and Rosie wouldn't change it for the world, but it's just, I didn't love that beginning bit, because it was just like, what is going on? And I felt out of control. I didn't, there was this tiny thing that had no rhyme or reason to night or day or what, And, and I breastfed until she was 2.5, which I'm super proud of. And it wasn't an ethical thing, we always combination fed. It was more just a getting her to sleep thing, to be honest. And it worked for us, so we did that. But yeah, and I think for me it was when I went back to Ryan, it felt so overwhelming as well, because I was like, how am I going to get fit again? Like, I can't imagine even running down the road. I feel so big. And it was small steps, wasn't it? It was like, let's get your food under control first. Let's start tracking everything. And I was like, I am going for this. And I really went for it with my food, which has always been my biggest downfall, to be honest. Exercise isn't a problem.
I think that was the turning point. I think that you mentioned, obviously, MyFitnessPal wasn't something you'd taken to. No. You didn't really see the value of it. I think you probably saw it as something that was going to stress you out more than anything else. And then when I really twisted your arm and said, right, let's just try it. Let's try it for 2 or 3 months, be quite strict with it, and let's see where the results take us. And I think then it twigged, didn't it? As soon as you started having that accountability with the food and everything that you ate, we saw the weight come down like it had never come down before. Not like it had done pre-pregnancy when you were here. Not even like, obviously we didn't really try and lose weight at all during pregnancy. But at no point had you seen the results you'd seen then 6 months after being pregnant, after giving birth, and that kind of few months then was the most impactful, I think, in terms of results and progress.
Definitely. And my advice would be to any women, new mothers, anyone listening out there think this, all feels so overwhelming. It's those small steps though, isn't it? And it's just like, even just going to meet with you and just like, thinking, right, this is going to happen. Obviously we didn't go straight into deadlifting 100 kilograms. No. It was like, right, let's try and get more steps in every day? Can you do more walking? Can we, I think we did loads of body weight stuff at first, didn't we? And and also it was me learning if my body could take certain things, because obviously I had a C-section. It was building up all that strength, and
I think it's really important we talk about that. Like,
popped.
Like, you having a C-section is a completely different approach to training. Have you coached anyone who's kind of come back post-pregnancy, C-section?
Yeah, I think you have to remember that it's major surgery. Like, your anatomy
it's weird.
is altered.
100%. Yeah,
you can't sit up and get out of bed. It's just the most bizarre thing.
And you don't realise how much you use your core until you have an operation like that, and it's everything from even just sit on the sofa, if just a small movement to the side to grab the remote, everything works that core. So when you come back 6 months after a surgery like that, it's very important that we're kind of conscious of that. We're picking the right exercises, the right rep ranges, the right weight, and we're starting literally from the ground and building up. And that's exactly what we've done. And it's taken. How old's Rosie now? So
Rosie's 3 at the end of August. So I've been with you maybe 2 years. It was the January of 2020. No, it was the January of 2022. I think I started with you.
Okay, it's just over 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's taken 2 years for us to build that up to the point where we feel comfortable enough getting towards 100 kilos. But there's been kind of along that journey moments where it's really progressed. Sometimes where we've chilled out a little bit, we've had to focus on other areas. Even things like pull-ups now, we can do pull-ups to a certain degree, which you could never do, even like banding and stuff like that.
They are hard.
Yeah, that's all coming along, and it's just across the board making sure that everything's being hit, and that you are, getting really strong alongside everything else.
It's definitely not been smooth sailing, in terms of, I think at the beginning, especially my food, because my weight sort of started dropping off quite drastically at the beginning, and I was like, what? So once, as Ryan said, when you see that, you're like, right, I'm going to, I certainly wasn't starving myself by the way at all, it was just getting control of things. But then my downfall, my absolute downfall is snacking, and I have a real sweet tooth, and and also, parenting a toddler when you're tired and you're on your own and you think, I'm just going to eat that because it's just delicious and it'll make me feel happy, and I got to bed on my own, yay me, so I'm now going to eat this ice cream. And in that in the journey, my weight's gone quite stagnant, and it's also about that honesty with Ryan. Like we had a big chat about it just the other week. About my fitness pal, and I was like, yeah, probably not. When I drink booze, I don't always put it in my fitness pal. I'm like, I don't know why I've put on a couple of pounds this week. And it's about that accountability, but it's also about being honest with yourself. But I think what I've really loved about my fitness journey with Ryan as well is like just being honest, being like, yeah, I'm going to go out for a drink this weekend. I'm going to go and live my life. I'm going to go and eat that thing. And it's not about not doing it. It's about like, the counteract, how we're going to manage that then, or like, what's going to be the, and I think that's what's been really interesting, where when I've done stuff in the past before I had Rosie, I think you've just got to like not eat anything rubbish ever, and, be really strict, and it's just not life, is it?
It's a great point, and that's the right word, life. We talked about the 2 year journey. Could we have done that in a year? Maybe potentially could have done it in 2 months,
really
probably.
Strict.
Yeah, but again, it's a longevity game. Like if you do it in 6 months, a year, 18 months, but you're a robot and you live no life and you're not enjoying it, like what's the chances of you sitting on here in this podcast right now in this room talking so positively about training and mental health and how it all kind of is intertwined? Probably very low, because you've just not enjoyed it as much, because you've had those moments where you've been out with friends and overdone it a little bit and had a little bit of a hangover and coming into me on a Saturday and going, let's not weigh today, it's been a bad week. Those are really, they're really, really important though along the way, because they're a key aspect of you enjoying it, feeling like you're not completely restricting. And we almost plan those things in, don't we? Like you talk very much about planning and prepping and having a schedule, and you'll say to me, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, I've got something coming up. I'm not really going to track much. I am going to drink. I might put a few things in there if I want to, and that's completely fine with me. as long as we're on track and we're making things work up until that point. Again, it's sanity, isn't it? It's life.
It is, but it's all, it's all part of me, and all part of, I found my own journey becoming a mum, is that loss of identity in who you are, and I think exercise and this fitness journey has really helped me regain that identity as well. And, you know, part of my identity before I had Rosie was going out a lot and drinking a lot and, you know, having a fabulous time and, you know, and so, but sometimes that does happen and it's still brilliant. But what I kind of love is that is kind of rarer now, because I think I said to you the week, like, when I get a hangover now, it just, especially because you know how brilliant you can feel when you're at the peak of your fitness. You think, when you've got a hangover, you think, oh, you know, the anxiety, and you think, why have I done that? But, you know, it's also important, I think, to let loose and blow off some steam now and then.
100%.
Not being around a child.
Couldn't agree more. And we've had conversations, and I'm exactly the same. You know, I'm a coach in the health and fitness industry, but occasionally I like a blow up my mates. I like a good drink. I like to overdo it. I kind of do it relatively guilt-free nowadays because I know they're so few and far between. And part of it is me celebrating the fact that Amy's let me have a night off as well. So I'm going to make the most of it. But yeah, it's really important, and I encourage anyone who's a parent to have those moments because you need those rewards.
Yeah, it is that guilt though, and they talk about mum guilt, don't they? And it was interesting actually, because I was talking to you before about the chimp paradox that I've started listening to on my runs on Audible, and I'm terrible at remembering things from it. But actually, one of the things he was talking about the other day was mum guilt, and about how it's sort of programmed into some women to think that when they have a child, that's all they should do, is they should just live for their child, and if they do anything for themselves, they're going to feel guilty for it. Thankfully, I don't seem to have that, which is good. But, you know, it's taken some doing. But I think doing exercise and having that time for myself has laid out that structure, you know, and I know that if I have that time for myself, and I am lucky because Ben, my husband, does, you know, I'm always very like, I'm going to do this on this day. I need to go for a run that day. And so I always make sure he knows what I'm going to be doing, so he knows when he's got to have Rosie and things like that. But, you know, I don't get that mum guilt, because I know that then when I have my time with Rosie after I've done that, I'm much more present with her. Like, I'm much more there because I've had my own time to do my own thing and be my own person for a little bit. But yes,
I think that probably highlights maybe why training in the morning is so good as well.
Yeah,
because it's just a de-stress for the day.
Yeah.
You're not pent up. You're not worried about that thing that you have to do, you need to do, you want to do. It's done, dusted, and now you can go and focus on being the professional, being the mum,
100%.
being the people that you need to be.
Yeah, it definitely sets me up for the day. I've always been a morning exercise person. Some people aren't like that, but yeah,
it's a time thing as well. I totally appreciate it. I think
yeah.
It's an issue for a lot of parents because you've got school runs.
Yeah, I mean, it could change. When Rosie goes to school, this could all change, and then it will be like the lunch showers or the, you know, I don't know. But I'll manage it as it comes,
Yeah, you adapt. And I think what I always say to not just people who are parents, but anyone, get your exercise in at the first possible opportunity. And utilising lunch breaks is a big thing, especially for like step counts and walks and just moving more in the day. Maybe not for training sessions. It's difficult to get off on your lunch break and do a full training session, but always train at the first opportunity. If it means getting up early and doing like another hour in the gym or doing a home-based session, go for it. I'm all for that, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
We've talked a little bit about tech. Spoke a little bit about MyFitnessPal. Is there any other apps? I know you're big on this. Any other things that you think have played a big role when it comes to getting in shape and your performance?
Yeah, I think anything. I really like I like logging things like that, accountability, and so the R5 app that is kind of relatively new. Oh no, it's been, I don't know, a few months now. It wasn't when I first started out.
No, we've had the R5 app for about a year now.
Yeah. So the R5 app, which so basically like every day there's an accountability that you can like log on there, how many steps you've done, how many calories you've had. I really like that because I like at the end of the day going, oh right, yes, that's good.
We call it a daily habit tracker, where you can go on there and you can log some of the key metrics for your day. It asks you some brief questions about obviously how you're feeling, how things have been, but you're fantastic at filling that out. You really are.
And then we have a weekly check-in, which I think all your clients do, which is when I, weigh myself at home, do photos as well, talk about what's been good in my week, what's not worked, and that's really nice as well because it makes you reflect on like, why you might be feeling a bit meh, or why you might be feeling like, actually this has been really great. So I think they've really helped me. I like that accountability. I like having check-ins. I just like filling out forms. I'm a bit weird. My husband thinks I'm really weird. I like filling out forms. Most people hate doing stuff like that. And with MyFitnessPal, I've actually started using it in a slightly different way recently, which is I'm trying to put in my food at the beginning of the day. So this is a lot easier to do when my husband is working away. Love you, Ben, but this is much easier. Ben is the cook in our household. He's a fantastic cook. He doesn't cook unhealthy things, but likes butter and olive oil and things. So, you know, which is great, but, you know, not every day. So during the week when Ben's away, I'm much more in control of what I'm eating. So I almost put in at the beginning of the day, I know what I'm going to have for dinner. I'll put that into MyFitnessPal now, almost so I know how many calories I have for a snack.
Yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with snacks. But that's really helped me. And I can't do it every day like that.
It's tricky because I've done the same thing where you eat your normal meals, you have a few little bits that are off plan, and you kind of start adding your things up throughout the day, and you've got like a mental almost number in your mind
think,
of where you need to be.
But
actually you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh shit, I've got there and more actually. And when you plan it out either the day before or the morning of, it is a lot easier because it's all planned out for you. You're following what the app says. And I think for a lot of people like yourself who like structure, routine, planning, it means you're sticking to those numbers a lot more consistently. Yeah,
trying to anyway.
In theory.
In theory, the weekends are always a bit tricky still. But yeah, so that's been really good. And then I guess online stuff like, the Peloton app I used a lot during my pregnancy, when I was doing stuff on the bike at home. That was really good. What other apps have I used? Strava. Oh yeah, I use Strava for running. Yeah. It used to be Map My Run and now I use Strava. I'm really enjoying that, although I think I was saying to you before, it's the competitiveness of it is a little bit. I don't see myself as a competitive person, but then you start thinking like, oh gosh, that person's done like 10,000 things to, like walk to the shop, I've recorded it, anyway, whatever.
It's like a social media
it's
for
really
running,
good,
isn't it?
For running, it's great.
You see what all your friends are doing, but it also gives you that sense of, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
Because you see other people doing stuff.
But is my pace quick enough?
But I think it's also like, it's motivating, it's inspiring, it's pushing you to do more.
Yeah.
I like how, some people who I've not connected with since high school, I've got them on there now, and I see what they're doing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. They're like really setting the benchmark.
Yeah.
And, I should be probably doing more than that, so I'll push myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can approach it in two different ways, I guess. It can be a bit overwhelming sometimes, and if you're not a competitive person, you might want to
you think
get
you're
off
not,
that.
and then suddenly you're like, I've got to be the legend of Norfolk Park again. But no, I do think it's brilliant. It's a really good app, actually, Strava. So I think they're the kind of main ones that I use, really, now.
Yeah. And I think obviously you've got your Fitbit where you track all your steps.
Fitbit, I do my tracking on my Fitbit, which has been great for me. I don't need anything much fancier than a Fitbit. Mainly just use that for steps, really. Yeah.
But it's really simple pieces of tech and apps, I think, that go a long way in terms of keeping you on that straight and narrow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I probably just wanted to state that I'm probably going to walk out of this quite inspired because I love talking to busy mums and people they've got a lot going on. So I suppose my other question is going to be like, what makes you different to other mums? I realise that's quite direct, but I'm hearing a lot of traits that people want, but maybe they're going to struggle to build. So what would you say makes you different from maybe those other people who are struggling out there?
I think... it's difficult because being a mum is never one journey is the same, is it? And this is what I'm realising, and to all the mums out there, all the parents, but especially the mums, because it is different being a mum to a dad, and it's very all consuming. Like when I'm in the house with my daughter, she doesn't leave me alone. It's different. Like my husband can go and sit on the sofa and watch football, and she'll, whereas like it's like mummy, I can't go to the toilet without her following me. So, I do believe it is quite a lot more intense for mums. Most of the time, that's a very general statement. I think because I don't, and this is not me playing a mini violin or anything, but because I don't have a lot of practical support around me and my husband works away a lot, I have to just be, and I know I keep coming back to being organised, but I have to be really organised. I have to really plan my time. I have to really be on top of what is going on during that week. Because I'm the only one a lot of the time that can look after Rosie and, get the dog walked and, all of these things. So I think I'm just, it's that mindset. It's really, again, it's not about motivation. It's about planning and going, I'm going to stick to this plan this week because I know if I stick to this plan, I'm going to feel good for this. It's going to make me feel mentally like I can take on all those other parts of my life, like that I can be a mum, I can do my job, I can take this week on by the horns and, you know, and do it all by myself, and I can do this. And believe me, I get to the end of the week and some days are really tough, and sometimes I get to the end of the week I think, I can't do this, and I hate my husband for working away, I hate the fact I don't have any support, and life's so unfair, you know, and there's still that does come up. But really, I know if I can stick to my exercise plan, if I can stick to that, and I you know, can also have downtime, not can rest in the evening and have some downtime as well to myself, that maybe that sets my advice would be, just to kind of, I don't know if that really answers it.
I would totally agree with everything you said there. The main thing being how organised you are and your ability to plan and prep. I coach a lot of mums and parents, and I have got a lot of conversations with mums and parents, and the main thing that always comes up is time. I don't have enough time. It's the big word that always comes up. And you know, there's people out there that are way busier than all three of us, right? They might have 3 kids. They might do solo parenting. They might still be in shape. They might have, I don't know, they have a million things going on. I guarantee they do exactly the same as what you do and what we all do, which is we plan our week out. We make sure that we know when we're training. We know when we're having family time. We know when we're working. It's the ability to sit down and map your week out to a T, and that will change. Like you said, the goalposts will change along the way. Things will crop up. Can you, at short notice, make those small changes and still make it work that day? But it's the ability to plan and have a guide for the week every week.
Yeah.
Probably one thing that I've picked up from Kate said there, I'd say you're an action woman. You know, you're probably someone who you say you're going to do something. And words mean nothing, let's face it. Words don't mean a great deal when it comes to fitness journeys and that sort of stuff. Saying you're going to do something is fantastic, but you will say you're going to do it and you'll do it. And I think there's a certain skill level of not over-promising yourself. And you strike me as the sort of person who doesn't over-promise and under-deliver. I feel like you almost want to under-promise and over-deliver.
I think that is so key, because I think if you set yourself up like I'm going to work out 7 days a week, and I'm going to eat like 1,000 calories a day, and you know, you inevitably going to fail. I think you feel like a failure, and you'll beat yourself up, and you know, it's just being realistic. You know, looking after a kid is hard. You know, you probably could train more before you had a child, but you probably didn't because you weren't as focused with your time. So, you know, that's
it is a harsh reality, isn't it? It's a harsh reality of like you're not organised enough, and people don't like to admit that. And it's also that stress factor as well. It's that ability to be like, I am stressed, I am tired, I probably do deserve a lie down and a rest, but I'm not going to. I'm actually going to use this time more efficiently to focus on me, because it's like so hard in that moment to say, no, I'm going to go and push my body even further, even though I'm stressed and I'm tired. But actually, in the long run, it makes you feel better about yourself. You get back from that run, you get back from that workout, and you go, oh, actually, you know what? I'm so glad I took the opportunity when it presented itself, and I seized that ability, or that time, to go and use it for me, rather than just sit on the sofa and go, right, I'm just going to scroll from my phone and have a mental. Yeah. It's don't wrong. Scrolling through your phone and having a bit of a mental reset is
I do that every evening.
Yeah,
like after Rose got to bed, I sit there looking into space,
exactly.
Like, you know, I'm not just looking at YouTube videos or something. So
I'm not downplaying you know, how important that is sometimes, just to have a bit of mental nothingness as well. But I think as long as in your day you've taken that time to focus on you, that really is what sets you apart.
I used to really find it hard when people are like, oh, when your baby sleeps, you should rest, you know, da-da-da. And in the early days, there is an element of truth to that, because, you know, the sleep is just, you know, I mean, I wouldn't...
So all over the show.
I mean, you know, sleep deprivation is just the worst thing in the world. And that's what I used to get angry about, actually, when Rosie was little. You know, I think, how can I expect her to look after a baby when I've had hardly any sleep? It's society, there's something wrong with society. I still think there's something wrong with society for that reason. But you know, but like now it's like when I've got some time away from Rosie, you know, I'm tidying the house, or I'm like going for a run, or I'm like, you know, I don't really, because I think, I can sit down later and do that. You know, it is like I like my time. I like being productive, and you know, that's not to say, believe me, there have been days when I've just thought, you know, if I've been hormonal or something, just thought, I'm just too tired to do it. I'm just not doing that today. I'm too tired to go for it. I'm physically too tired to go for it. I'm not going to do it. And that's been the right, you know, it's rare, but, you know, some days you just have to go, do you know what? No, it's all right. Not today. And that's also fine. So. And
it's about, bridging that gap as well between when you actually need a rest and when it probably is just you being a little bit mentally weak. Yeah. It's your chip. Obviously, you know, we've spoken about a few of your little achievements recently, or big achievements, Sheffield Half Marathon, and getting the big triple figures on your deadlift. Is there any other future goals that you've got, anything down the line, whether it's short-term or long-term pipeline, kind of bucket list things you'd like to tick off?
Well, I stupidly told Ryan that I want to be able to do a pull-up by myself at some point, which seems like the most impossible thing in the world. And when I see, like, especially because men are just obviously just naturally strong, you know, but when I see people just like, I'm like, how? I'm strong, why can't I do this? Anyway, we're working on it with bands, and they have got a lot better, even the band ones. So sadly, I told Ryan I want to be able to do at least one pull-up at some point by myself.
One thing we actually overlooked there was you can do a press-up now, though.
I can do a full-on press-up. You can do
full chest, touching the floor, on your toes.
I mean, I could never have done
like
that.
multiple. What's your record? Like 8?
Maybe. I mean,
like
they are hard. And I can do a wall sit for 90 seconds and not freak out.
Exactly.
I could have even done 30 seconds a few years ago.
I mean, I remember when you used to come to the boot camp, we'd have all the girls lined up.
Oh, yeah.
And the first
Got to
person
give them
out.
a shout out. Sarah, Patty and Amy.
After about 10 seconds of you, Kate, well, no, can't do it. So to go from where you were to where you are is pretty heroic.
Yeah.
But the pull-ups are elusive. They are the ultimate test of upper body strength, I think, aren't they? Because it's lifting your whole body weight up off the floor.
I hate them. So there's that, and then obviously I did the half marathon. I'm doing another half marathon in Manchester in October.
Yep.
So I'd like to get. I got 1 hour 59 in the Sheffield one, which, you know, considering it's just one giant hill, I was pretty impressed with.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Didn't stop.
Sub 2 hours on the Sheffield half is amazing with the amount of incline and elevation gain you've got.
Again, there was a plan. I followed a running training plan.
Yeah.
Followed it to the letter, and that's how I managed to get to that point. So then Manchester half marathon, it's going to be flatter. I'm going to try for a quicker time. I've said I'll never do a marathon. That might change, but I'd need time to train for it. And whilst Rose is little, that seems slightly impossible. Maybe when she's older, who knows? Never say never.
I think you at some point you will. I think the kind of temptation and the desire to like have that box ticked will be too overwhelming, I think, for you at some point. Probably, like I said, maybe a few years when Rose is at school and you've got more time during the day. But the commitment level goes up because you've got to now get your long runs in, which are 30k, 35k, as opposed to, you know, like your 20, 15.
Yeah. But even with the Sheffield Half Marathon, when I was training, I had to take like half-day holidays off work to fit the long runs in. I mean, that was the reality of it. I had to use annual leave to do it because I was like, I can't fit it in at the weekends sometimes because Ben would be working. So there was a couple of
like taking
half-day holidays I had to use. I said
using your annual leave to like go and train and hit targets with your fitness.
11-mile run because I couldn't fit it in any other time. Wow. But it paid off. But I do enjoy running. I mean, I can never imagine not doing personal training because for me it's just such a huge part of my life now. You know, and some people talk about the expense of it and things like that. But for me, it's just a cost that I accept. That's what I pay every month, like you would pay, you know, for other things. And you know, it's a non-negotiable for me. I'll always find the money to do that, and it's because I know what I get out of it. If I didn't do it, I'd probably have to have therapy. Maybe I should have therapy as well. I don't know, probably. But you know, it's such a huge part of my life, so I can't imagine not doing that. And I think for me, I'd like to maybe hit a slightly lower weight. I think we've still not quite hit my target weight, but I'm less worried about that because I also know I'm building muscle. So and my body shape's changing. You know, I feel strong, which is the most important thing.
I think with where you're at now, you're a bit of a cusp where maybe there's marginal levels of body fat percent to lose, but we also have this like risk and reward. Like if we risk losing body fat, do we then start to kind of, you know, so if we reward ourselves with losing more body fat, do we then risk performance and affecting your running, affecting your ability to build more muscle and get stronger? So we're in that cusp of do we keep pushing or not? But I think you really want to get a little bit lower, don't you? I think there's going to be a bit. I think there's a bit of a turning point now where, right, can we get? Is it sub 70 kilos? We're going to try and push for. So I think you around kind of 69, 68 kilos. I think is a perfect weight. But we've had so much on this year, haven't we? Like with the half marathon and obviously the Manchester Marathon coming up, Manchester Half Marathon coming up. So I
think for me, you know, it's like I was saying at the beginning, you know, obviously the weight loss part of the fitness journey is just make you feel better. When you put your clothes, you think, oh, this feels better, this fits better. It gives you a level of confidence. But for me, it's never been about wanting to be thin, it has always been about being fit, and I think that is the difference. And actually, if you focus on getting fit, you will inevitably lose weight.
Agreed.
I think it's a fine line between choosing that goal as well. Like you mentioned, performance compared to like body composition goals and that sort of stuff. So credit to you for being laser focused.
And also I breastfed my daughter till she was 2.5. I mean, God, you've got to snack when you're breastfeeding.
Yeah, the amount of calories
it's
that burns
crazy.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't have that excuse anymore of my snacking, but you've also got to give yourself a break. Women's bodies going through all these changes and stuff, and it's tiring. So have the snack.
I probably just want to stress the impressiveness of doing a three-digit deadlift with not having a gym membership. Yeah, I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed with that.
Well, it's all down to Ryan, really.
Yeah.
It's maybe it is.
It was pretty intense. I was like,
yeah. But the deadlift was the one that I think came on really quickly, didn't it? I think we quickly went from about 70 kilos up to 100, probably only over the space of a few months, really. I think it was always there. We were just making sure that the fundamentals and your technique were right, so that when we got to those higher levels, there was no risk of injury. And risk of injury for me is the big thing we want to avoid. And if I see anything that's not quite cemented in your technique, we won't push it. We're just going to stick at a weight that you probably think is heavy, but I know is relatively comfortable. And it's a little bit like. It's like most things, we have this idea in our mind of where the limit lies, and it's not until you push the boundary a little bit and you go, actually, no, my limit wasn't there, it was actually there. Same with running, like, there's so many times you've thought, right, there's no way I can do more than a half marathon. You go and do 5-10 kilometres more, and you go, actually, no, I could have. It was all up here. It was the limitations I'd set in my own mind. Yeah. So I think the deadlift was that to a certain degree. It was us not getting too carried away early on, and then when the time was right to push, yes, we went from 70, 80, 90, hit that 100, and God knows where we're going to go with it now. I think
I'm not doing bodybuilding. I'd like to put that out there. I might do that high rocks thing maybe one day.
I think you'd really like that.
Yeah.
I really do. I think high rocks is right up your street in terms of performance.
Intense things.
I definitely couldn't imagine you on stage in a bikini doing all the kind of,
Doesn't interest me at all. No, thank you.
So. Yeah, but I think that you've not heard the last from you in terms of like what you are going to achieve and where you're going to take this. I think you like those challenges. I think you, without any kind of goals, is someone who's not getting the most out of themselves. And I see that all the time. You come and you go, right, I've booked this one. Because you booked Brighton, didn't you, earlier in the year when you decided
last year I had a really bad string. Look, I booked 2 half marathons and then got a chest infection. I was getting all sorts of... Anyway, didn't do any of them. And then this year I'm enjoying running a lot, and it is that mindset thing, isn't it? It's like you think, I can't do 5k. Well, if you can do 5k, you can do 6k. If you can do 6k, you can do 7k. If you can do 7k, you can do 8k. So that's how I always go, and I always run. My mindset is I run half the distance one way and half the distance back, which some people hate doing, but I think all I've got to get to, if I'm doing a 6-mile run, I think all I've got to get to is 3 miles, then a turn around, and I've got to run 3 miles home. But I've got to go home, so I've got to run it.
We're actually about to do an episode after this about running, so we're going to discuss all the kind of different tactics and what we'd recommend, mainly probably to more newbie runners and people who want to get back into running or have never tried it before. But I think that having these little kind of tactics in your mind of what sits just right, and I think that's such a great way of approaching it. If you can do 1k more each time, what a great way of just progressing it very gently. Doesn't always work for everyone, because I think people get certain issues with the body.
Some things you can't avoid, like knees and hips,
shin splints, stuff like that. But there are ways of programming it so that it's enjoyable as well. And if you go away from home, you then have to come back at some point. So
getting the right trainers. One of the things that I would say is that what is so lovely with Rosie is I just want to kind of keep inspiring her about fitness as well.
Absolutely.
So every morning I usually put my gym gear on, because I'm usually doing something like running or something, or a home workout when I drop Rosie off, and she thinks it's my work uniform. She's like, "Mummy, going to work?" when I put my running stuff on.
That's
and
amazing.
I love the fact she thinks that and she's, "Mummy, do some exercise." I'm like, "Yeah, Mummy's going to do some exercise," but she thinks it's my job as well, which is quite nice. But I feel like, and she's not even 3, and it's already she sees Mummy being really active, and
brilliant.
That is so important to me. I think that's brilliant.
I think that's literally why we started this. It's why you're a guest on here. It's like inspiring, doing it for us mainly, but inspiring them to be better as well and helping them understand it. And the fact that she asks you and knows what you're doing and gets it as well. And at some point, she's going to want to start doing stuff with you, whether it is the running or whether it's some stuff on the Peloton bike or the gym stuff.
She loves getting on my exercise bike, which is a nightmare because obviously it's too big for her. I'm like, it doesn't really work like that, Rosie.
Yeah.
Or my weights, and I'm like, oh no, don't pick the weights up.
So yeah, love all that. Absolutely. What I think probably a fitting way to call it as well. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, Kate?
It would probably more to highlight that we're weirdly relating to like being a role model for Rosie in particular. And Ryan coined this phrase quite early on in the podcast when I think it was the Set an Example episode, where we want every parent to be their child's hero. How important is that for you with Rosie?
Oh, emotional. I kind of feel like, it's really important to me. You see, because it's emotional, but it's really important to me that she sees me being happy and positive in life, and also she sees the other side of me, which is when I shout at her and I, because I do lose my cool, as every parent does, and she sees the not so happy side of me. But if I can set that positive mindset and be like, you can do it, you can put anything you achieve your mind to, you can do it, and that would be my advice to any mums out there, or any women, or anyone who's listening to this who's thinking, this feels so out of reach for me. Just take one step. Get in touch with one of you guys if you think about personal training. Talk to them, find out what they can do for you. There's even online options, anything, just take a step, and if that just means you start out just walking a bit more every day, or soon you'll be like, oh, I'm really fit and I didn't really know how I got here. It suddenly happened. And I think that is, if I can inspire Rosie and her friends as they're growing up, because I didn't do I played netball when I was younger, but our parents' generation, it was less of a thing going to the gym, wasn't it, and doing stuff. Feels like it's much more in the zeitgeist now, which is brilliant. But just seeing how happy you can be from doing exercise, I think it's changed my life, and I know it could change other people's, and inspire the next generation.
Absolutely. Kate, really well put, really well put, and I couldn't agree with anything more that you've said there. I think to hear your story today and for you to sit down and just let people know how hard it seems initially and then how easy it becomes over time
and how hard it is still some days.
Yeah, for sure, of course. But in like a satisfying way. Like, you're challenging yourself. It's not as like daunting. It gets less daunting the more you do it.
Yeah.
Have
a plan.
Perfectly summed up.
Yeah.
Well done. Absolutely.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
No, just want to encourage people really to, if you want to spread this message, I suppose, to hear from this super mum, go forward the fit dads to any
absolutely
aspiring mums or mums to be, or just
mums
somebody
that you think are maybe struggling. Some mums that you think are just maybe struggling with their mental health or are getting a little bit overwhelmed with parenting. Just forward them this podcast, let them hear Kate's story, and I'm sure that will inspire them just to make those initial moves and feel a bit more positive about where life could be going, as opposed to having it bog you down every day, which being a parent, it absolutely can do, for sure.
And I'm very happy if anyone wants to get in touch via you guys to have a chat. I'm very happy to have a chat with someone directly if they need more specific advice or
that's really
encouragement.
Nice. Thank you, Kate.
Really was kind of you. Credit to you too as well. You've worked hard at this.
It is. Thank you, Ryan.
Dream team.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without his support, and he knows that. So
thank you. Really appreciate it. Kate, thank you for coming on. Lovely to pick your brains today.
Absolutely
and
loved it.
We'll see you guys next one. See you soon.
Thank you.